Officer County 911.
Yes, I am a teacher at Columbine High School. There is a student here with a gun. He was shot out a window. I believe one shot.
Describing gunshots ricocheting off lockers. They describe these suspects as students of the school.
Apparently dressed in long black trench coats, opened fire in a school shooting what we believe to be up to 8 people. There have also been reports of explosions in the school.
But my son's death was not purely a suicide. It involved mass murder. I wanted to know how his suicidal thinking became homicidal. But research is sparse, and there are no simple answers. Yes, he probably had ongoing depression. He had a personality that was perfectionistic and self-reliant, and that made him less likely to seek help from others. He had experienced triggering events at the school that left him feeling debased and humiliated and mad. And he had a complicated friendship with a boy who shared his feelings of rage and alienation, and who was seriously disturbed, controlling, and homicidal. And on top of this period in his life of extreme vulnerability and fragility, Dylan found access to guns, even though we'd never owned any in our home. It was appallingly easy for a 17-year-old boy to buy guns, both legally and illegally, without my permission or knowledge. And somehow, 17 years and many school shootings later, it's still appallingly easy.
I'm sure you know and feel this is another very sad day in America, another senseless shooting, this time at a high school in Parkland, Florida, where a gunman, a former student, opened fire yesterday. Again, 17 lives have been lost, more than a dozen people are hospitalized, and our president, as he should, weighed in on the tragic events this morning from the White House.
We are all joined together as one American family, and your suffering is our burden also. No child, no teacher should ever be in danger in an American school.
When everybody tries to take away your Second Amendment rights, they're trying to take away your liberty and your ability to protect your family and your life.
Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership says that it is blatantly obvious that so-called
never let the NRA down. And while he once again praised them as true patriots, he repeatedly took positions that put him at odds with both the NRA and Republican leaders in Congress. He pushed the idea of raising the minimum age to buy assault weapons.
I would give very serious thought to it. It doesn't make sense that I have to wait till I'm 21 to get a handgun, but I can get this weapon at 18. I don't know.
He said one of the NRA's top positions, allowing concealed weapons to be carried across state lines, was a no-go.
You gotta live to serve our country. You and all of you have a chance to change our country. Change not just our laws, but the way we talk about our laws. So absolutely.
Thank you. And guys, look, this isn't about red and blue. You can't boo people because they're Democrats and boo people because they're Republicans. Anyone who's willing to show change, no matter where they're from, anybody who's willing to start to make a difference is somebody we need on our side here. And this is about people who are for making a difference to save us and people who are against it and prefer money. So, Senator Rubio, can you tell me right now that you will not accept a single donation from the NRA in the future?
As to whether you think that they would work. So the primary one is to ban the AR-15, or basically the whole category of semi-automatic rifles. Would that have stopped the school shootings we've seen?
No. So criminals don't obey laws. The definition of a criminal is somebody who doesn't obey a law. Banning an inanimate object will not solve these problems. So, for example, the Maryland shooting yesterday didn't involve an AR-15. Virginia Tech, he used pistols. The Fort Hood massacre, he used pistols. 9/11, they used box cutters. The tool is not the problem.
My worst day as president was hearing that 26-year-olds had been shot in the most brutal way in their school where they should have been safe. And it was only 2 days later where I had to try to comfort parents of these 6-year-olds and their siblings, 10-year-olds, 8-year-olds whose little sisters or little brothers had just been slaughtered.
The gun debate is back on in Washington, but the school massacre in Newtown, Connecticut raised big questions about another issue as well, mental illness.
We treat diseases above the neck totally differently than we treat diseases below the neck.
Persons diagnosed with mental illness are actually far more likely to be the victims of violence.
I view this as a public health problem. I mean, that's my background. And if you do studies, you can understand what are the risk factors for this, and then how do you reduce that risk. The president called for that after Newtown, and when Congress did ask through executive order, he's calling on research. And this fall, the NIH is launching research to understand how much is related to mental illness, how much is related to gun policies.
So we have 15 million children and teenagers in the United States who have a real psychiatric disorder. And the important news about that is that 75% of all psychiatric illness occurs before the age of 24 and 50% before the age of 14. So if we change the system so that people are better able to recognize it, you can treat something a lot more effectively if it's only a year old or 2 years old than someone who gets psychiatric illness for 25 years or 30 years like any of us.
Some people are asking the question now, you know, science has come a long way, and we know a lot more about mental illness and health in general. Has health changed, though? Has our mental illness changed in the society, or are we just recognizing it more?